Hi tigers and ellies and dolphins. Today we're learning all about worms. Now I'm going to ask you a few questions, but we're first going to get a worm out of the worm bin. Now if you do worm farming, it's called vermiculture. Can you say that word? Vermiculture. Now vermiculture is when you have worms and they help you to do all the hard work in your garden. It's called a compost heap. We have a compost heap over here. And what you do in a compost heap is you put all your stinky veggies and fruit peels and you just put it all together in a big heap. And it looks kind of gross. And the worms and the bugs and the creatures all help to eat it. And eventually, down at the bottom here, is going to be some nice soil. Next to the compost heap, I've got a worm bin over here. And this is the farm where all my worms live. Now let's have a look. It's also kind of gross and stinky in here because we put lots of things in here, but I want to show you when we put all our old peels. Don't lean on me. Okay. Lots of little creatures live in here, not just worms. Okay. Here's a bit of a bigger worm. Now when he moves, he uses the anterior side. That's where his head is. And he doesn't actually have eyes that you can see. But he can see light and dark somehow. He can sense it. And this is his posterior side, the back of him. And do you know how I know where his head is? There's two ways. One way is the side that's moving is his head side. But another way is that when a worm gets a little bit older, he has a thing right over here that's a little bit thicker, which you can't really see well on this worm, which is called a saddle. I'll find another worm to show you. Now bye-bye little worm. I'm going to put the little earthworm back in because we don't want him to dry out. Earthworms have nice wet skin because that's how they breathe. I'm going to put him back in here. Now the reason we have this worm farm is because otherwise our litter bin in our bin gets so stinky. So what we do is all our old eggshells and our old peels, all the stuff you cut off of the fruit and the veggies. No, I need a much bigger one. You put it all in here.
Are you looking for a long one?
No, let's find a big worm. So you put it in here, and I'm going to show you. I'm going to bring the camera a bit closer so you can see what it looks like in there. Can you see? There's layers and layers of worms and all the food that they eat.
Nice ones.
And their food is the stuff that we throw out. Here's a nice big one. Here. He's a bit dirty.
They're all nice and dirty.
Oopsie.
They're all nice and dirty.
But he's a really nice one to see, the saddle. Here is a nice big worm. And when I hold him up close, can you see that he has a light part? Whoop, let me put him in my hand. He has one part of him that's a little bit fatter right over here. It's like a thick part. Whoopsie daisy, he's going to go off my hand. And it's right near his head. And that part is called a saddle. Whoop, I'm going to throw him back in there. I'm going to do this so you can see more of the worms in the worm bin while I talk. And the saddle is a really important part because that's where they make a cocoon. And inside the cocoon will be eggs. And let me see if I can find, here's a little egg inside here. Don't know if you can see, right over there. The eggs kind of look like little, like seeds or something. Well, that's like the cocoon kind of egg. Okay, whoopsie. Ew, okay.
This one.
Find me one. Okay, we found one. Here we go. Can you see, I'm going to hold it over here, this tiny little yellow thing. Now that is a little egg cocoon. And the baby worms are going to hatch out of that. Now I want to see if we can find a baby worm to show you.
I saw lots of tiny
If you look in here, there are lots of things in the worm bin. There's a beautiful spider. There are, ooh, these guys. These guys are very gross.
Slugs.
Can you see these guys? Big fat slugs.
Ooh, I think
But it's
those
okay, they're all helping to break down our
egg
waste.
no.
And the reason that these worms are so important is because they turn all our yucky rubbish, like from our veggies and our fruit, and they turn it into soil. They turn it into this black stuff. Now I'm going to show you. Jonah, help me to hold. Oh, there's a tiny baby worm.
Ooh, a nice one.
Oh, he's tiny. He's on the tip of my finger. Can you see him?
Oh,
He is super tiny.
We're gonna lift it to the next
So
one.
cute. He must have just hatched. He's very
A
cute.
nice gross slug.
There you go. And here's a nice big slug Jonah had. Ew, your hands are going to be so slimy. Okay. But all these guys are helping us to break down the yucky stuff into soil. And now I'm going to lift a layer and show you. Oh, you've got to be very strong. On the next layer, now can you see the nice black soil? There's still some eggshells because eggshells are really hard. And there's some worms. And even, guess what? This doesn't break down. What is this? Can you see what this is? It's the lid of a tuna tin. And do you see how the worms ate all around the other stuff? They ate everything, but they couldn't eat the metal. So that needs to go into our metal recycling. I'm going to take that out. But the rest down here is this beautiful black soil. Now, when you've done worm farming, you can use that in your garden, and it's very, very good. I'm going to show you this beautiful picture in the book, which shows the saddle really nicely. Can you hold the book for me, please? Do you see this thicker part over here? That's the saddle, and that's the part where the worm can make new eggs. And there's a really cool fact about worms. If a bird tries to pull one side and eat him, he can break off his body halfway, and the piece that is stuck in the ground will keep living and grow into another worm, and the bird will still get to eat a piece of him, and the whole worm won't die. So they have a very cool trick up their sleeve. Now, do you think worms like to be dry or wet? What do you think? Think about that worm bin that I just showed you. Was it all gooey and gross and wet inside? It was. So worms need to breathe through their skin, and their skin needs to be nice and wet. So I don't know if you can see in this picture, he looks kind of shiny because his skin is wet. So if you look in your garden and look for worms, if you can find some worms, earthworms in your garden, it means your soil is very, very healthy, because earthworms help, and they break up the top layer of the ground, which is just like broken leaves and grass and stuff, and they take little pieces of it and they pull it down into the ground. So they help our gardens so much. Their little tunnels help the water to go down into the ground, down their tunnels, and all the little bits of plants and stuff that they take into your soil makes your soil very, very healthy. Now I want to see if I can show you. Here's another guy who was inside our compost heap, the big slug. He was kind of gross, but they also like wet spots, and that's why he was inside there. Let me see if I can show you. You can't see so well on this picture of a worm, but the reason he's able to move is because he has tiny, tiny little hairy bits that stick out between these little lines. And they're like little bristles. So as he moves, his little bristles hold on the ground and he can move. And that's how he can move. One other fun fact. The biggest earthworm ever in the whole world was found in South Africa, and it was 4 feet long, I think. You know, on a bin day, sometimes your bin inside the house, it gets super, super stinky. The reason the bin gets so super stinky is because of all the wet stuff in your rubbish. So what you need to do is put all those yucky leaves and lettuce bits and bits of carrot all in a little container, and at the end of every day go put it in one spot in the garden, and that can be your compost heap. And then if you do have a worm bin, put it inside your worm bin. If you don't have a worm bin but you want to have one, we can try start one once we're back at school. Maybe we can start one at school, or maybe we can give you each some worms to take home, and then you can start your own worm farm and be a vermiculture person, a worm farmer. Bye, guys.